Roger Casement was born in 1864, and he lived through the whole period of late 19th century imperialism. And he really only comes into public understanding in the early 20th century when he publishes, through the Foreign Office, a report that condemns the administration of King Leopold II in the Congo. And this leads to one of the most important diplomatic entanglements before the First World War. He was born in Dublin. He is really known on a very simplified level in the public imagination, ready for his at the very end of his life when he returns to Ireland aboard a German submarine, and for his efforts to recruit an Irish brigade in Germany in 1914 and 15. But he's a far more complex figure than that, and really most of Casement's adult life was spent in the employment of the British Foreign Office, undertaking very dangerous and very revealing investigations into what we would call today human rights abuses. And that really is the part of his life that in many ways is most interesting, but it's shadowed by his extremely controversial end, and of course his execution in the middle of the First World War as one of the leaders of the 1916 Rising. So that's more or less who Roger Casement is. I suppose the big issue in terms of his own identity is the fact that he was decorated for his work as a British colonial officer, and in 1911 becomes Sir Roger Casement. But during his whole time as a paid-up British consular official, he is still very much identifying with the issue of Irish independence, and he keeps a very close ear to the ground over the politics of Home Rule. And then when the whole issue around Home Rule becomes even more strained in the relations between Britain and Ireland in the early 20th century, Casement gradually moves himself to the centre of the stage, and he plays a formidable and very important part in the founding of the Irish Volunteers at the end of November 1913, and is one of the principal architects of the running of guns into Howth in July 1914, a week before the outbreak of the war, along with his very close friend Alice Stopford Green, the historian, and Erskine Childers, who had also served with great apparent loyalty for the British government in Africa, and Darrell Figgis, who was a noted literary figure at that time. So Casement moves between these two spheres, between British imperial power and emerging Irish nationalist separatism. And what makes him very complicated, really, is to try and work out how he himself manages to incorporate and indeed marry those two very conflicting sides to his identity into a single person.